All right, this video is on measuring angles. And so we're going to look at angles and how we find their angle measures. And then we're going to look at classifying them and then doing some problems with them as well. So an angle is formed when we have, notice, a ray and a ray. So we have two rays with the same endpoint. So we have ray AB and we have ray AC. And they share that same endpoint of A. As we go ahead and name this angle or label it, we first need to know the vertex. And the vertex is also what we call that angle, or that endpoint, sorry. The shared endpoint is our vertex. It's where the angle comes together. As we name it, we first use this little symbol. It looks kind of like a little mini angle right there. And the vertex always is going to be in the middle of how we name it. So there's actually two names that we can name it by putting the vertex in the middle. We can call it BAC, or we can call it angle CAB. But that vertex or that always has to be in the middle. So I can't call this angle ABC. I can't call it angle CBA because the vertex has to be in the middle. Now, sometimes you might not know these other points, and so we can just call the angle A as well. There are times when we call it like that. The angles that we're going to be dealing with are always going to have what we call an angle measure from 0 degrees, and we're going to write it in this kind of notation, all the way to 180 degrees. So 0 is less than x, which is less than 180 degrees. Or the measure of an angle can be from 0 to 180. We have four different types of angles that we're going to be talking about. The first one is an angle like this, and we would call it an acute angle. Remember, acute angle is less than 90 degrees. Using this notation up here, it would be 0 degrees is less than x, which is less than 90 degrees. Acute angles are all smaller than 90 degrees. Remember, they're acute. They're small. An obtuse angle is an angle that is greater than 90 degrees. So it's going to go from 90 degrees all the way to 180 degrees. It's 90 to 180. We have two angle measures that we give special names to. We call it a right angle if it's exactly 90 degrees. And the way that we know that it's 90 degrees is you see this like little box in the corner, or you're told that it's 90 degrees. We can't assume that we have a 90 degree angle unless we are told that it's 90 degrees or it has that box. The other angle looks like this, and you'll notice that it's a straight line, and that is what we call a straight angle. Or it's exactly 180 degrees. Anytime you have exactly 180 degrees, it is a straight angle, or a straight line has a measure of 180 degrees. So one thing that we may be asked to do is to classify an angle. You're going to be given an angle. It's 55 degrees. So we look at where does that fit? Well, it's not this one. It's not that one. 55 degrees is in between 0 and 90. So this is an acute angle. Next one, we have 100 degrees. Well, it's not 90 or it's not 180, so it's not a right or a straight angle. 100 is in between 90 and 180, so this would be an obtuse angle. Another thing that we might talk about is congruent angles. And congruent angles just mean that they have the same measure, or the same angle measure. Remember, congruent meaning almost like equal. And so if they are equal or congruent, then that means that they have the same angle measure. Congruent meaning equal. All right, now let's move on to our second page. Angle addition. So here you see it looks like two angles and they have the same ray coming out the middle. One of those rays is the same. So what we're going to look at is we're going to look at it as a couple different angles, and I'm going to kind of draw these in here. So we have this angle right here, and I might call that one angle, or this would be angle AOB. And then we have angle BOC. So these two angles add up to this large angle right here. They add up to that large angle. So if I start with this part right here, and we're going to put an M in front of our little angle symbol, and that tells us the measure of angle AOB, plus if I add up the measure of angle BOC, so AOB, BOC, if I add those up, those are going to give me the measure of angle AOC, that large angle. So these two smaller parts make up that bigger angle. You could think of it as this part plus this part equals the whole thing. So part plus a part equals the whole thing. What we're going to do is we're going to use that information saying that I can add up these two smaller angles and that adds up to the bigger angle. What we're going to do is use that in a problem that looks like this. So here I have, it tells me that the measure of angle RQT is 150 degrees. We have to figure out the measure of angle RQS and the measure of TQS. We have to figure out those two angle measures based on what we're given. So the first thing is we have to solve for x. So we're going to use our algebra skills in doing this. Now we just said this part plus this part equals the whole thing. So we would have 4x minus 20 plus 3x plus 14 equals this whole thing, which is 108 or 155. So now we combine like terms and solve for x. I have a 4x and a 3x. They're both on the same side, so 4 plus 3 is 7x. And then a negative 20 plus 14 is going to be a negative 6 equals our 155. Now we're going to add 6 to both sides. Those cancel out. We're left with 7x equals 155 plus 6 is 161. Then we divide both sides by 7. X is equal to 23. But that doesn't tell us what those angle measures are, because the question says, what is the measure of angle RQS and TQS? So we must plug in our information that we know back here to figure out those. So the measure of angle RQS, we have our 4, but instead of X, we're going to put in 23 and then subtract our 20. 4 times 23 is going to be 92. Subtract 20, and that gets us 72 degrees. All we did is plug that in. Now to find the measure of angle TQS, we do the same thing. Now this one's 3 times 23. We use the same value of X plus 14. 3 times 23 plus 14, and that's going to get us 83 degrees. Now we can check our answer. 72 plus 83. 5, 15. We get 155. So our answer checks out because they're supposed to add up to 115.